I'm Frank Scarcello, and you're watching Frank Conversations. And today, my guest is Dr. Matt Leitch, who is the Associate Professor at the Natural Resource Management at Leitch University. And a couple of weeks ago, I attended your presentation, Matt, at the library, and it got my attention because it involves forestry, and it's a topic that we don't hear about a lot anymore. And I guess the first thing I want to talk about is if you can give me a brief history of what's happened to the forestry industry in the past. You know, what created that downturn?
Yep.
And then we can talk about some better news in terms of innovations and perhaps hopefully a resurgence of the industry.
Okay. Well, like you say, in the past, forestry obviously for the past century has been an integral part of Canada, one of the backbone industries of this country. And for that century, it served the country very well, mostly in the commodity sector, producing lumber and pulp and paper. And then about every 10 years, we tend to see a bit of a downturn as the economy on the planet would slow down, but then it usually would kick back into gear. So it'd be maybe a 1-year downturn. But after about 2000, we started to see fairly significant changes in the industry, even in the 90s, where we started recognizing, one, the advent of new technologies such as, the Macintosh and all the companies producing their tablets, which has taken away some of the demand for paper, as well as one of the big things was competition from Southern Hemisphere growers. So the eucalyptus and the pine estates that grow in the Southern Hemisphere. And we're now seeing that, especially in pulp, where they can produce pulp in 5 years, where it takes us 60. And they can produce saw logs in 20 years, where it takes us 100.
Wow.
And so there's the competition has hit us pretty hard. And so more recently what's happened is we've lost some of our industries as a result of that. In the paper industry, especially the medium and low grade papers, where the eucalyptus fiber is very good for those products. And in the lumber industry, certain products, plywoods and other things, where they can produce them very quickly and rapidly. So basically we have competition that we haven't seen in 100 years, and it's starting to affect us.
Those damn eucalyptus trees.
Yeah, so now we're going to have to start adjusting, which is what we're doing.
So, is it safe to say though that pulp and paper, because of the competition in the Southern Hemisphere, is probably not going to make a comeback? Pulp and paper in terms of
the way
printing,
the way it currently is right now may not come back as strong as it once was. I don't think it ever will. Where it will come back, I mean, we'll still produce pulp, and we can still produce high quality papers, which of course our black spruce resource produces the best fiber on the planet for high quality paper.
High quality, right.
So the long fibers make very good paper, whereas the short eucalypt fibers can't produce that really high quality paper for glossy magazines and stuff. So in certain areas, I mean, we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. So in certain areas, we will remain strong. In other areas, we're going to probably lose to southern competition.
Our local mill is what are they producing?
Well, they produce a kraft pulp, which is like a newsprint grade pulp, which is there's still a demand for that. It's not as high as it once was. They don't have as many machines running as they used to. But then they've sort of become innovative in that they have a biorefinery in that mill now. They've worked over the years putting in their energy system, so they produce their own energy from their waste streams. But they're also recovering chemicals from the pulping process, which are very valuable. And they have with collaboration with FP Innovations, Resolute has a lignin biorefinery at the pulp mill in town, and lignin, of course, is a natural adhesive, so it's a new product that has high value in the marketplace. And so some of our mills may not be producing as much pulp, but they do have opportunities for others, such as chemicals and things like this that are extremely valuable.
So innovation in this industry is just ongoing. It just never stops.
It's the one way that Canada, we've always been a very innovative country, so it's the one way we can survive and excel in a lot of our areas of the forest. So we're going to lose aspects of what we once had, but we're going to gain new parts. So, we give a little, but we take some more.
Right.
So as long as we keep being very innovative, we should have a strong industry into the future.
Excellent. So we have the pulp and paper industry. We talked about that. Now we have the wood industry, I'll call it. And I see your motto at the university's "Wood is good." So tell me about what Lakehead University is doing in terms of world-class research. You had a great. Well, I'll let you talk. You tell me about it.
Well, basically, I mean, the wood industry, we still have a fairly strong lumber industry. You know, we export a lot of lumber. A good chunk of our lumber goes over the border to the U.S., where we still have a large market. But we're also starting to diversify a bit because, as you know, when the U.S. housing market goes down, it tends to drag our lumber industry with it.
Right.
So a lot of provinces have been very active in pursuing export opportunities in China and India and other countries that are growing quite rapidly. So there's opportunities to diversify where we send our wood, but then we're also developing new products such as glulam, cross-laminated timbers, which are some of the new products in the industry, which will also accommodate the new, the code changes in Ontario for 6-story buildings.
Right.
These will use large amounts of lumber, made out of, buildings made out of lumber, such as the cross-laminated timber, which is very big in British Columbia and Quebec, who had code changes years ago, and they have hundreds of projects of multi-story buildings now made out of lumber, cross-laminated timber, which before we could only go 4 stories.
And now in Ontario we can go 5?
We can go 6 with wood, and you could have a 10-story building, 6 of them would be wood, 4 could be concrete or what have you. So I mean, this is a huge boost for the industry because it creates a new internal opportunity for selling large quantities of wood, plus it creates a new opportunity for export opportunities because these are high value, value-added products. So it's not like commodity lumber where there's a low margin.
These are high margin
products. And it's a big boost. Like some of our mills are increasing their output. I think part of it's because the U.S. is kicking again, but part of it's because they foresee there's going to be a high demand in Ontario for new structures being built out of wood.
I got pulled out this article on the weekend. GTA builders usher in the new era of wood.
Yeah, and that's directly related to the new code changes, and architects and designers are very much jumping on board with this. One, because people find wood both to be naturally beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, but even insurance companies and the architects are realizing wood has advantages. Again, in fire situations, it will last longer than concrete and steel structures.
A lot of people would be surprised by that.
Yeah, because I mean, a big wood beam will only char on the outside. The center will still be structurally sound after the fire. So I mean, on top of the aesthetics and everything else, they're realizing the safety issues that wood creates, as well as the cost savings. The average, 6-story building made out of cross-laminated timber can be up to 25% cheaper than an equivalent made out of concrete and steel. So that is also lends itself to exporting because of the value and the savings that you can have building.
Now you're also talking about the green aspect of it.
Yep.
Now I guess would environmentalists have a little bit of a disagreement with you?
No, I think they should be 100% behind this code change. One, because concrete and steel industries, the production of concrete and steel is not the cleanest of industries. It produces a lot of CO2. Wood is, some people say, is a carbon neutral product. I mean, we use machines to harvest it and so on, so it's not perfectly carbon neutral. However, the carbon that's sequestered in wood is stored there until that wood burns. So if you make buildings out of it, that carbon's not released into the atmosphere. So from an environmental point of view, it makes more sense to structure buildings out of wood than it does out of concrete and steel.
You talked about some technology that you're working on, tree mapping. I found that fascinating. I guess, tell me about that.
Well, the idea behind the mapping was, our industry is based on, we cut trees, we process them, and then we know what we have at the end of the line.
Yeah, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse. Whereas the program I've developed over the last sort of decade is that we map trees, we realize the inherent wood properties that they have, and then we can more specifically maximize how we utilize them. So we started off basically mapping trees individually, then at a stand level. Now we're at a landscape level, like I showed in the presentation. We're industry, if they come into a stand, they'll know what's in there before they cut it. So they can, in their planning, they can plan for what grades of lumber they're going to get, the value, and then how much they're going to get out of each stand. So they'll know what they're going to get before they cut it. And it also means that they can react very quickly to market demand. And for new investors in the region, it gives them more assurance of the resource that we have, particularly value adders who have very tight guidelines as far as the wood quality that they need for their product.
Right.
So if a company comes in and says we need this particular quality, we can show them on the landscape where it is, what forest they should be working in, where their plant should be, and what their transport networks would be. This is really, I don't know that many countries have that sort of knowledge of their forests and the ability to promote them to new investment. And currently we are mapping Ontario, the Northwestern Ontario Forest is a research project under the Forestry Futures Trust, which has funded us to do this, and we're very confident that the maps we produce they will want, and this will now be incorporated into Ontario's forest resource inventory, so we have wood quality on those inventory maps, which will benefit existing industries and new industries. So it's a way of just recognizing and valuing our forests more than we currently do.
It sounds like, you know, extremely efficient, and that's good for the bottom line, right? You know, for the industry. It's almost like, you know, in the mining industry, you know, before they do anything, you have to determine what you have.
Exactly.
It's kind of amazing. In the past, they just chop down a bunch of trees, put them through the sawmill, and say, okay, this is not good. You know, it's kind of.
Well, in Canada, we are blessed with a large forest resource.
Sure.
You know, coast to coast, north to south. We have a lot of trees, and that's, as a result, they're very high quality because of the way our trees grow. As a winter, you know, slow down or going to sleep and then waking up.
Right.
So we have very high quality wood compared to the southern hemisphere in particular. So that has served us well, but now we, you know, for the longest time it was commodity, but now we have to be more specific because of competition and that. We have to have a better grip on what we have and how we utilize it. And I mean, I mentioned in the talk the one study we did where we showed if you segregate the log based on these inherent properties, you can increase the value of every tree by up to 25%, which is very significant. You know, we were hoping for a couple percent, but 25 is huge.
It's a big number.
So, and that's, you know, these are the sort of things that are going to help the industry remain strong.
And this research is done here in Thunder Bay.
It's done at Lakehead University.
And we should be, you know, proud and happy and lucky to have, you know, that research being done here. Right.
And there's a lot of collaboration between professors at Lakehead as well. I mean, I work with chemical engineers, chemists, as well as civil engineers on these products and how we can maximize and utilize these things. So,
you mentioned wood on steroids.
Yeah, that's the cross-laminated timber. It's a fairly new product. It's common in Europe, but it's fairly new to North America. We have two producers in Canada. And it's basically taking large dimension wood like 2x6s and laminating them together, but laminating them together like plywood. So each layer is 90 degrees to the next layer. So it's basically, as I say, plywood on steroids. And this is what these new multi-story buildings are made out of. There's an architect in British Columbia who has actually designed a 30-story cross-laminated timber wood building. And he's trying to get approval from Vancouver and the BC government to put this up as a demonstration. And there's several groups around the world who have similar structures designed, so you just make the layers bigger and bigger to accommodate higher buildings.
So, you know, like you said, you know, 30, 40-story buildings, that's going to be
a lot of wood.
That's a lot of wood.
And the nice thing about that is too, Lakehead is working with local, economic development corporations and the funders in the town to get a glulam and CLT facility in Thunder Bay.
Opportunities in Thunder Bay. You know, we're just, you know, we need to expand our manufacturing base here. So, could you give us some hope in terms of the industry, growing or here in town?
There's lots of signs around, like, you know, Resolute sawmills. They've increased their output in the last couple of years. They've opened up a mill in Atikokan. They've reopened their mill in Ignace. People like the Indians have bought Terrace Bay and they're producing rayon for the textile industries. You know, we have small players in town that are value adders. We have this group that's trying to put up a glulam and then CLT facility in Thunder Bay. All these things are positive. You know, Resolute has a biorefining plant in their mill. Lakehead has the Biorefining Institute. So we work very closely with industry to help keep promoting this and to come up with new ideas. And that's the idea is, you know, work with them, show them where there's opportunities and try and get investment into the region. So I think we do have a strong future, and, you know, we sit right in the middle of a bread basket or a wood basket. So I mean, there's opportunities for new investment. There's lots of opportunities for our current players, both at the commodity level, so primary producers, and secondary, which is our value added. You know, I always say we can't really have a large value added industry without commodity producers who are in the bush cutting trees and doing stuff like that. So all of those integrated together will maintain a strong industry for us.
Well, that's like I said at the beginning of our conversation is it's very hopeful, because forestry is such a big part of our economy in the past, and sometimes we forget about forestry, and it's great to hear that so much innovation is going on in town with the university, and hopefully the governments will allow buildings to go higher than six stories.
I think they are in Quebec. They're already, I believe, they're up to 12 now.
And up to 12.
So I mean, it's happening, and it's happening around the world.
The trend is there.
Yeah. So
the
I
trend is
mean,
there.
in Thunder Bay, we could be leaders in this province and in Canada for helping promote this.
I have to show the people Matt's business card. Obviously, it's made of wood. I've never seen one made of wood before, but it's appropriate, excellent.
And produced locally.
And produced locally. I'd like to thank you very much for coming in today.
It's my pleasure.
Very interesting. I like your T-shirt as well. You got the right shirt on, Italia.
My mother's of Italian descent.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening. I'm Frank Scarcello with Thunder Bay Live at the Renaissance Cafe. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.